Winter whiplash. Nebraska farm and ranch families again experience extreme weather. Ahead on Grow, we see how ranchers and farmers cope with another round of severe weather. Plus, we continue to deal with the aftermath of the last disaster. It's time to grow. Hay is loaded on a truck going to Nebraska ranchers in need. A month after catastrophic flooding, the hits keep on coming. Here's more from north central Nebraska up in Sandhills cattle country. Exhaustion sets in as folks battle another major storm, this coming on the heels of the biggest disaster in Nebraska history. As he thunks the ice off his windshield wipers one more time, Brad Wilkins is still smiling, but storms have taken their toll.
Instead of Nebraska strong, it should be Nebraska tired.
Wilkins cleans snow from his feed and grain business, while his family also has been busy calving.
Our producers that are out there are certainly putting in, 18, 20 hours a day because when weather's like this, you have to be out there checking those mama cows.
Getting feed to his customers is a challenge with snow and ice on top of roads washed out by the most widespread flooding Nebraska has ever seen.
This feels a little bit like Groundhog's Day. A couple weeks ago we had about the same situation, and the ground was not thawed out then, and of course that created flooding situations. Although the water's gone down now, the infrastructure in our counties, Brown, Rock counties, are still really compromised.
At KBR Rural Public Power, they're dispatching linemen to power outages 30 and 40 miles away.
Well, the roads are still recovering from the March storm, so it's a challenge right now.
The storm brought freezing rain that Beatty says left an inch and a half of ice on power lines and transformers. Then blizzard-strength winds did the rest.
This is the third year in a row we have bad April storms.
There's concern it could be too much for some, especially ranchers who have lost cattle and farmers who are already suffering from the trade war. The positive is how rural America has pulled together with hay and supplies from across the country.
We need each other, and we're all in this together.
Brad Wilkins said he's concerned about his fellow egg producers, and instead of bottling up those emotions, he urges farmers and ranchers to talk to a pastor, mental health professional, or trusted friend.
Whether it's our faith communities or whatever, we just need to, we're all in this together, and we'll get through it together.
And as quickly as this storm has come on, it will pass soon too. However, the damage will likely be long-lasting. And taking a look now at planting season on hold, NTV's Alex Whitney has that perspective.
It's another week and another winter weather system making its way through Nebraska, causing headaches for folks across the state and causing a special frustration for producers who are trying to get into the field and start their planting season. A normal sight around this time of year is a farmer out in his tractor disking and fertilizing his fields, but inclement weather and excessive moisture have made that an almost impossible task so far this year.
Normally would be starting about next week because around April 20th is normally about the time we start thinking about getting planting started. Usually during this time we'd be hoping to finish up putting on fertilizer, being able to get the pre-emergence down. We've had a little bit of that going on, but not a whole lot.
Speaking to local producers like Joel Keene of Hartwell, they aren't worried just yet about making the planting season, but there is some concern that the wet and cold weather will prevent them from properly prepping their fields for planting.
As far as planting, I don't think there's a lot of concern yet. I think what a little more of the nervousness is about is the lack of field preparation, fertilizing, things like that need to be done prior to planting that we're behind on, and so that always raises a little bit of concern.
While the winter weather isn't what he had hoped for, Joel Keene says it just comes with the territory when farming, and that producers must stay adaptable to continue a successful operation through this wet and cold spring.
I think the number one key to farming is being adaptable, and we adapt to situations that aren't ideal, and we work our way through challenging times, and I think that's the key to it, and remaining optimistic.
While the delays are frustrating for farmers, experts are saying that it's not time to worry just yet. They say it will take another 2 to 3 weeks of cold and wet weather before it really starts to put the planting season in jeopardy. Reporting from outside Hartwell, Nebraska, I'm Alex Whitney. Back to you.
And now it's time for our question of the week. We want to know, how late do you think planting will be where you are? Follow NTV's Grow on Twitter to cast your vote. U.S. Senator Deb Fischer and Congressman Adrian Smith leading the congressional delegation in introducing the Disaster Tax Relief Act of 2019. The bill would deliver tax relief to areas that received a federal disaster declaration between the start of the year and April 15th. Senator Fischer saying in part, quote, "We are strong and tough, but I'm committed to providing people with some relief in as many ways as possible. I hope Congress will quickly enact the Disaster Tax Relief Act of 2019 so that we can lighten the load for families who are hurting." Congressman Smith believes offering tax consideration to areas hit by natural disasters is just one small piece of what the federal government can do, saying, quote, "As we advocate for further on-the-ground assistance, additional funding, and regulatory relief to ensure agencies can meet Nebraskans' needs, I will continue to work on the Ways and Means Committee to ensure these provisions are enacted to assist Nebraskans," end quote. The Nebraska Sorghum Board reaches out to producers affected by the late planting season. The Sorghum Board says, "Our hearts are with those growers in Nebraska who have experienced the effects of flooding and moisture conditions, and proud of the countless acts of heroism displayed between neighbors." But they say some producers may be searching for alternative cropping solutions. In an effort to help growers mitigate potential losses caused by delayed and prevented planting, they say sorghum is ideally planted in Nebraska between May 1st and June 21st, and they suggest people check out an online sorghum guide found at the Sorghum Checkoff website. Coming up, much more on the disaster impact and the hay relief that continues. Operations like this, that's when Grow continues later in the show. Up next, more ag headlines, including a national look at things and the newly released Census of Agriculture and what it says about Nebraska.